Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news, and I'm afraid to say it's embarrassing news again. It doesn't matter really what your stance is on United, who your favourite player is, who you think's, doing well and not. The reality is this is just embarrassing for Manchester United. Waking up to this again, when I really want to be talking about, are we going to do any transfer business? The huge problems in the midfield at Manchester United. Throwing away a result like that, which we will talk about, but we've got to talk about this explosive sort of story that's come out last night. Anthony Martial versus Ralf Rangnick. And basically, Ralf Rangnick, after the game, said that Anthony Martial refused to play for Manchester United yesterday. Anthony Martial's put an Instagram post on saying, I didn't and would never refuse to play for Manchester United. I never have in 7 years and I never would. I respect the club and I respect the fans. And straight away, look, there's lots to talk about here. Who do you believe? Who do you believe? Who do you believe? But the reality is, does it matter? This comes down to communications. Manchester United, for too many years, have spent their time spinning plates, feeding information to the same old journalists that we all know, and it's archaic. It doesn't work. People don't respect those journalists. They know exactly who they are and they know the information they get and they know that they're basically on the payroll. They'll never say anything out of place. And it just becomes very archaic and dictatorial. What we've got last week is Simon Stone doing an interview about Marcus Rashford that's either come from Rashford's PR or the club's PR. And it's all about positively spinning Rashford even though he's been shit. And yesterday got absolutely sat down by a 19-year-old, basically making his debut. But we've had a week of Rashford's trying hard, let's blame Ollie, this, that and the other. After that performance yesterday, when Rangnick's 100% at fault, like he's just inexperienced, and we'll talk about that why in a minute. I don't think it's a bad thing to say that we're 2-0 up with 20 minutes to go. He should have managed the game and he didn't. He talks about Anthony Martial and basically says that Anthony Martial refuses to play the game. Where's Manchester United's head of communications or PR officer telling him not to do that? It's totally and utterly inexperienced. And we saw, I like Rangnick, by the way. I want him to do well. But we saw yesterday, and Martial's not out of the woods, I'll talk about it in a minute, but we saw yesterday two massive areas of inexperience. I saw somebody today saying on social media, how can people criticise Ralf Rangnick? He's one of the most experienced coaches in the world. We can criticise him because he's not experienced in the Premier League and he's exposed himself twice last night. The last 20 minutes, he thought 2-0 up against a mid-table club, you're home and hosed. Well, he doesn't know the Premier League because it doesn't matter whether you're playing bottom of the league, mid-table or top. 2-0 up, 20 minutes to go, you can blow that, and we did. And he was inexperienced, he didn't shut the midfield down. After the game, when tensions are running high because people are pissed off about the result, you do not say publicly a player refused to play for Manchester United. Because whether they did or they didn't, we know what social media is like. We know what the UK press is like. We know what ex-players are like. The minute that comes out, you've got people who, they don't want division in the fan base. Get out of our club and take your compatriot Pogba with you. If that's not xenophobic, I don't know what it is. Worse abuse than that, wishing him death, all this stuff. The minute I saw Rangnick say Martial refused to play for the club, I came off social media, I messaged the lads and I said, that is going to lead, I'm off Twitter tonight because that is just going to be abuse for Martial. This is not going to be about why he might have refused. Maybe he wants to stay fit for a move which is is coming. Who knows why? But he is going to get absolute toxic abuse. And in a world where Manchester United come out when we get racist abuse against our players saying enough is enough, why is a Manchester United manager creating that possibility? That should never, ever be put out. And I would say, I don't blame Rangnick, I blame the club. He never, ever should have put that out. Whether it's true or not, well, people will say, well, it's true, so the fans should know. You don't know half. You don't know half what's gone in the last 2 weeks. You don't know. There's worse in the last 2 weeks against players that are going to stay at this club that you don't know. So why was that put out? And that's what makes me angry. Martial's come out and denied it anyway, so who you believe is up to you. At the end of the day, in the absence of stone cold evidence, you shouldn't be taking sides with anybody. It's just embarrassing that we've got a player and a manager basically disagreeing with each other publicly. But surely this is right, what I'm saying. Why are Manchester United Football Club throwing one of their own players to the wolves? The abuse that Martial got last night was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And I understand why people are angry. I understand that, if somebody refuses to play for your club, it's disgusting. It is. But it shouldn't be put out there. Because what if Martial gets seen in the street in Manchester today and somebody attacks him or gives him some verbal racist abuse? That never should come out. It's so unprofessional from the football club. And I don't care whether it's Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool. That didn't need to come out. And you know what? I don't blame Ragnick. Ragnick just doesn't realise what the Premier League's like. Last 20 minutes of a game, you're not home and hosed. You should shut your midfield down. After a game, you do not say a player didn't want to play for the club, because it will absolutely go off. And you know what? Of course it's going to go off. We're a very proud fan base. And when a player says they don't want to play for the club, it's going to make people angry. I mean, I tweeted about it. Thankfully, I would never put anything abusive. I just said Martial refused to play ... because I was very disappointed when I heard it. But I would not have put any bloody stupid abuse in there, because that's just not me. But some people will, because they get very, very, very angry. But you know where I'm coming from on this. Why the hell would you say it? I mean, I wouldn't, I don't really rate Harry Maguire at the moment, but I would never advise any Manchester United manager to come out after the game and say Harry Maguire refused to play for the club. Because it's unprofessional to throw somebody to the wolves like that. And it never should have happened. And I don't know how it happened. And I'm sure the club this morning are waking up very pissed off, because that should not have happened. But I'll go back to what I said a minute ago. The communication at United and the way they communicate is archaic. They need to get with the times. They are too reliant on giving information to journalists who do a great job, but, they're from a world of 20 years ago. They're not from the modern world. And people don't necessarily trust these journalists who we know get information from the club, because we know they're feeding the information out. They've got to be more dynamic. They've got to be more switched on. They've got to realise that when a Manchester United manager says a player refused to play for the club, whether it's true or not, there's a better way of managing. And you know what? From a business sense as well, look at it from this point of view. Ralph Rangnick tells the world that Anthony Martial refused to play for the club. If I'm Sevilla, I ring up today and I'll go, yeah, we will take him for 20 million and that's our final offer. Because basically, you've just bloody plummeted his value. The world knows now Anthony Martial is basically a rebel. He wants out. He was refusing to play. His value goes down like that. So I can imagine if the club is switched on, they'll be bloody fuming about what was said last night. But you know what? I don't blame Ragnick. I just think he's never managed in the Premier League before. And the way he's done it in other countries is probably very different. We're very different here in our country. And it was always going to cause a storm in a teacup. 2:30 a.m. in Canada, still awake, trying to figure out why we've not bought a real CDM since Carrick. That's from Colin. Welcome to Members Club Ravens. And Mark, do you support Ralph? If not, who would you like to see get this team of superstars going? I do support Ralph Smitty, but you know what? What I don't like about this morning is that this is a preventable drama that now becomes a big drama. We should be talking about the interest in Hadara, the interest in Zakaria, which we'll talk about in a minute. We should be talking about what we do against Brentford on Wednesday. We should be talking about what we did wrong yesterday. But we're talking about a player being thrown under the bus by the club, which never should happen like that. You know what pisses me off the most? Other players over the last 2 weeks have done worse and they've been protected. And that is why it pisses me off, because it's victimisation at the end of the day. But I'm not going down that route. The reality is, Anthony Martial has come out and said that he didn't refuse to play. Now, I don't know why Ralph Rangnick would lie. I don't know why he would lie. And I don't know why Anthony Martial would come out and say that he didn't refuse to play. I don't know what's gone on there. And to be honest with you, we should not take sides because we don't know the truth. And this is like, I live in a country where you're innocent until you're proven guilty. So the reality is, you're only going to take sides on prejudice, basically, because you like Ragnick or you don't like Martial, or you don't like Ragnick and you like Martial. That's what's going to happen. Well, I've got no interest in that. I choose not to take any sides on this at all because I don't have the evidence and I don't live my life on speculation. I've been victim myself of people spreading bullshit that people then believe, and it's not true. I know people will just go, well, it's clearly Martial, or it's clearly Ragnick. And the reality is, I don't have the evidence. What I do have evidence of, this is bloody embarrassing for the football club, to have a player publicly saying I didn't refuse to play, and a manager publicly saying he did. And the reality is, it never should have got to this because it never should have come out. Mark is missing the point. We want players that want to play for us. Maybe this will wake the young generation up. I respect Ralph for taking a stand. But Mark, Mark, you've just answered my point there. You don't know. You're just taking Rangnick's side. You don't know. And you're a victim of it, really, because now you are there going, get him out of the club, this, that, and the other. You don't know the situation. He wants to leave, right? He wants to leave. He's openly said he wants to leave because he wants to play football. I don't know what the situation is. Maybe Ralph Rangnick has said over the last few weeks, Anthony's not going to be playing because he's trying to leave. Maybe Ralph Rangnick said to him yesterday, can you come and be on part of the match day squad? And Martial has said, well, am I actually going to be playing? And he said, no, I just need you to be part of the squad. And they've had a discussion about, well, look, you know, at the end of the day, I want to move. I don't want to get injured. Are you going to... You don't know. I'd be very surprised if it's as clear as refusal to play. But look, you know what? I'm not missing the point, Mark. It's because it's just my opinion, and that's what it is. Whether Martial is telling the truth or not, he still never puts 100% in games. No, we don't know that either, Gunnar. Again, you're just speculation. Are you in his head? Do you know how much he runs around? You don't know anything. You're just going across on a prejudice again. Martial doesn't try, but Rashford does. Martial doesn't try, but Fred does. Martial doesn't try, but Wan-Bissaka does. Martial doesn't try, but Harry Maguire does. I mean, I've told you a bunch of shit players this season there, but one player seems to always get a different type of different type of thing. I saw journalists last night absolutely destroying Martial's reputation, and yet in the summer Harry Kane was refusing to play for Spurs, but that's fine because that's all about his career and looking after himself. The prejudice in this football club is not in this country is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Journalists who went in on Martial last night, who in the summer were applauding Harry Kane for basically striking at Spurs. I mean, tell me that's right. I don't care whether you like Martial. I thought he was shit last year and I think he should leave. But you cannot, in this world, I believe, look at it and go, some people are being treated differently to others. Reminds me of when Sir Alex put Rooney under the spotlight, says Suham. United stand community is overwhelmingly behind Ralph, and I love that, says Mark. Yeah, I don't think anybody's not behind Ralph. I just think this is you know what as well? Take the heat out of it for a minute, because I think we've all got opinions, and I love that, and I don't want people to agree with me anyway. If you do, great. If you don't, fine. You know, everyone must have their own opinions, but also it's really important. Noah says you missed my last super chat, and you say Martial gets abused. Look at Rashford abuse. It's on another level of abuse to Rashford. It's not okay. I think Martial gets way more abuse than Rashford, but it's not a competition, mate. I don't really understand what your point is there. You see, again, by saying somebody gets more abuse than somebody else, you're automatically making it about they're better than them or they get it. The reality is abuse shouldn't happen, and abuse is happening because the football club allowed it to happen. This never would have happened if Ragnick hadn't said what he'd said. It was naive and it was inexperienced. But when you take it away from that for a moment and just take the heat out, well, Manchester United, we set the standards. Every time follows us, look at our wall, says Smitty. And Ragnick must have been frustrated with what's happening behind the scenes. We wanted a manager who says it how it is. Ralph did what he felt was right. Arjun, yeah, but it was wrong. In my opinion, it was wrong because I've seen tweets about Martial dying. I've seen racist tweets. I've seen xenophobic tweets. That's been instigated by that comment. And if he didn't say it, which he's saying he didn't, then it's disgusting, isn't it? It's been managed really badly. But you know what? Let me just say this. Instead of getting into who's right and who's wrong, who's lying, who's not, does this not lead you into this path of, I don't know who to trust at Manchester United? I spoke about trust on the pitch when we got stuffed by Everton under Ollie 3 years ago. Trust in that football club is at rock bottom. We've had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer say Martial was injured when he wasn't. We've had Donny van der Beek, Dean Henderson, Jesse Lingard, Juan Mata told to stay at the club for game time, and then they've not got it. We've had Paul Pogba be told. We've been told that Pogba will be back in January, and now he's not back in February. There are so many things that come out of that football club that then don't happen. It's very difficult to trust anything that comes out of that club because you just don't know whether it's about spin or whether it's about the truth. But I'll tell you where United failed here. This never would have happened last night if the club managed situations properly. I saw a picture of Anthony Martial on Friday on Ahmad's Instagram, winning team, you know, where they've trained and they've won the game. Martial's there smiling. Dean Henderson's there smiling. Those smiles are clearly for the camera because there's clearly big issues as we've seen now. Why are Manchester United burying their hand? And it goes to, this is about transfers as well. Is he using him to ruffle feathers in the dressing room, says Rob. Based on life work experience, when contracting information comes out like this, it is best to pick no sides and just purely on the evidence, says Daniel, 100%. I absolutely hate liars. Did Rangnick try to deflect the loss by using Martial as a scapegoat? No, I think he was asked a direct question about Martial daily. You know, it was a very late comment. I don't think Rangnick was trying to deflect at all. I think Rangnick sees that as the situation. I think Martial sees it differently. So I don't know what the truth is. This situation has been managed horrendously. This is what happens when players are treated as assets rather than footballers, says Nathan Brown. You've almost read my mind, Nathan. Right. If I'm in charge of Manchester United or I'm the director of football, Anthony Martial told the club in mid-December he wanted to leave. We're now in mid-January. He's still training and this has happened. This was totally preventable if Manchester United had aggressively tried to get Martial out of the club as soon as he said he didn't want to be here anymore. What have we done? We've gone, that's your problem, Tony. That's your problem, agent. You find a move that we find acceptable and we'll think about it. That's what United have done. They've basically said to Martial, if you want to go, you find a move that we want, but we want someone to pay all of your wages and we want a loan fee. You go and do that. They think they're clever. They think they're really clever. They're like, yeah, we don't have to do any work and then we'll get what we want. But what actually happens is Martial wants to go, but can't get the move he wants. And he's frustrated by United's stance. So he feels trapped. He wants to go, but they won't let him go because they've given him stupid wages, etc. And that's toxic. We're trying to build a unity in the football club, and we've got 5 or 6 players who are like Martial. They want to go, but the club won't let them go because the club see them as an asset, not as a player. They don't see the problem it causes to the dressing room. They see a bank balance. They want Martial's wages paid, and they want a loan fee. But he's on 250 grand a week, and they want 6 million as well. You're not going to get it for a player that you have mismanaged over the last 2 years. You're going to have to take a loss. But the payback on that will be, he'll go on loan, he might perform, and you might get a transfer fee in the summer that's better than you thought. On top of that, you remove a toxic element from the dressing room, which makes your manager's job easier. Manchester United have failed to manage this situation. They've basically buried their head in the sand. They've done it with Pogba and Lingard as well. How are 2 players at that age, 29, running their contracts down? How is that happening? And also, how is a team that everybody, whether you're a fair weather fan or the best analyst in the world, everybody is united on the fact that Manchester United's midfield is trash. Ragnick wants a midfielder. Manchester United are apparently saying, get by to the summer. They're idiots. They don't know the game. They just know the bank balance. They don't want to spend now because they're like, we've got money allocated for the summer, Ralph. If we don't buy a midfielder, we're not going to get top 4. I don't think we're going to get top 4 anyway, but we're definitely not getting top 4 if we don't buy a midfielder. But this comes back to, again, the big problem. People want to individualise it. It's Martial's fault. It's Maguire's fault. It's Ronaldo's fault. It's Rangnick's fault. It's Bruno's fault. It's Rashford's fault. The reality is, they play a part, but they're pawns in a game of chess. The reality is, the big picture changes the little picture if the big picture's being run properly. And day after day, we are witnessing issues that really come down to the way the club is being run. Martial should have been gone in the first week of January, on loan, half his wages paid by us, half his wages paid by Sevilla. Because ultimately, you're not going to get somebody to pay him 250 grand a week and give us a loan fee. We're not operating in that world. It's not Football Manager, it's real life. If he was at Sevilla, he'd be happy. He might be scoring goals, and we'd be saying, bloody hell, we'll get some good money from him in the summer. And he's not here saying, I don't want to play, or I do want to play, or we're having this issue. So I blame the club on this. Dean Henderson shouldn't be here. He should be on loan. And then you're not getting the issues of him storming out last week. Jesse Lingard shouldn't be here. Then he's not putting pictures up of West Ham, pissed off he's not playing. Donny van de Beek should not be here. Then we're not getting stupid tweets from the Man United account saying 50 appearances for Donny van de Beek. They legitimately put a tweet out overnight saying 50 appearances for Donny van de Beek. I bet he's not played 50 fucking minutes. He played 2 minutes yesterday and that's counted as an appearance. I mean, it's an embarrassment. I really just wish somebody... There's good people at that football club. 100% there's good people at that club. But we're run like a bloody circus. It's an embarrassment. Who signed off on that Donny van de Beek tweet? Do you think Donny van de Beek wants that out there? It's ridiculous. They just... You know what? The incompetence is just astounding. It's astounding how rubbish some people are in that football club at making decisions. So look, I say in relation to Martial, please call out the abuse, report the abuse. Like if people are being racist or wishing him death on him, call them out. Because that is exposing their inner xenophobia or whatever it is. They have no evidence that Anthony Martial didn't want to play. He said he did want to play. He didn't refuse to play. Rangnick has said he didn't. That's one word against the other. Don't live in a world where you don't realise there's two sides to an argument. That's all I would say. I used to make that mistake in my teens and I learned from it very, very quickly. There's always two sides to a story. Don't take one side of the story when the other person's saying something else. The truth will be somewhere in between. One of them might be lying, one of them might not be, but we don't have the evidence. And I wouldn't trust anything coming out of that club at the moment because their confidence level has to be on the floor. In relation to Ragnick, I don't hold any issue with Ragnick here. I think Ragnick is facing probably the hardest job anybody's faced at Manchester United. He's inherited a mess. I mean, you walk in the door and the first thing some players are saying is, "I want to leave," and he's probably saying, "But I'm new. Yeah, I look, mate, all the best, but I've had enough of this shit. I want to go." That's what he's basically facing. Ralf Rangnick clearly explained why he didn't change the formation after 2-0. It was calculated, and he did say that if he had another chance, he would do it. And with Ralf Rangnick, he's learning the league game after game. But that Pranshu, I'm with Rangnick as well. But you know what? I said it. He's absolutely inexperienced, and he's inexperienced in the Premier League. And I think you're right. I think you make a great point. It's up to you as an individual whether you accept that as being okay with you. You know, ultimately, I'll never say everyone's got the right to an opinion. Some people don't like Rangnick. Some people don't like Ronaldo. Some people don't like Bruno. When it's an irrational opinion, I think it's hard to respect their opinion, but it's still their opinion. You know, it is. And, you know, fantastic take by you, Mark. Exactly our thoughts. This should be shown to the whole club, says Apritin. I don't know which point you're talking about Apritin. But look, let me just show you this. Let's just, again, bring the mood back a bit. This was the team at 2-1. We conceded and he brought Sancho on straight away. Obviously, that's the team without Sancho would be where Elanga is, right? And that's pretty much how we played. Bruno's probably a little bit more forward. And this worked really well. We played this for 70 minutes. We were 2-0 up. It worked really, really well. Okay? When it's 2-0, remember, pretend Sancho's Elanga, because at 2-0 it's not. Mourinho was experienced in the Premier League. How did that work out, says Mark. Mark, I feel you're sort of bordering on bad takes now, because I'm not talking about Mourinho. Should we talk about Ollie, Mark? Do you want to talk about Moyes? Should we talk about Van Gaal, or should we go back to Sir Alex? Like, what are you talking about? We're talking about... And you know, I don't know what you're talking about, Mark. You just please stop. You're ruining the flow of the show. If you're going to bring something to the show, please try and bring something that actually brings something. What the fuck has Mourinho got to do with what we're talking about? I don't know. What are you talking about? Right. Sorry about that, everybody. I've completely lost my flow there, because I was actually trying to talk about a game that we lost yesterday and actually what we should be talking about this morning if the club wasn't so badly run. So, 2-0, this is how we're lining up. Apart from it's Elanga instead of Sancho, yeah? Worked really well. Matic dropping in to help the centre-backs, full-backs pushing forward, Bruno helping the midfield out. Obviously, we know that Donny van der Beek didn't play. Why is Donny on the pitch? Sorry, Donny. Even I'm bantering you now. It was Fred. Sorry, Fred obviously didn't play that well. I'm dreaming, thinking it was Donny. So we're 2-0 up. We're 2-0 up, yeah? Ralf Rangnick says against Villa in the last 20 minutes in the FA Cup game, he brought Donny on, he took an attacker off, and we took hold of the midfield. When it's 2-0, this is what should have happened. Off you come. You've not played particularly well. You two tuck in and become a front two. Donny, you drop into here. Bruno here. And we basically just shut it down. We don't play a deep line. But we shut it down. That's what he should have done. 2-0, bang. Cavani was ineffective. Donny comes into the midfield. You use Greenwood and Sancho. Greenwood is the head of the thing on the break. We'd have won that game 2-0. We would have won it 2-0. Even at 2-1, do it. But to not do it... Look, I really do think in relation to yesterday, I want him to pick the same team against Brentford apart from Ronaldo for Cavani. That's the only change I would make. Cavani wasn't that good yesterday. Graveyard shift, but he wasn't that good anyway. Ronaldo for Cavani and picked the same team. I thought Alanga was brilliant. I thought Greenwood, look, still needs to work on his final ball, but it worked. It worked. Now, whether you take Fred out for McTominay, I don't know. I don't think McTominay will work in that team that we played in the first half because it was quick. And McTominay's not quick on the ball and he's not quick. So I don't think McTominay will work, but I think he will come in. What I don't want him to do is bring Harry Maguire back, Rashford back and McTominay back. And I think we'll go back to being shit United again. There was a lot of good things about the team yesterday. And for me, we didn't lose the game because of any individual. I know Fred and Matic were at fault for both goals, but really it was down to the manager not giving them support. It really was as simple as 2-0, Donny, get your tracksuit off, Cavani come off, Donny come on, 4 in midfield, 2 up front, game over. And it's just inexperienced. I really do think that what actually happened is that we have a manager who doesn't know the Premier League. He said it on Friday. I'm really surprised at how good the teams at the bottom are. This wouldn't happen in the Bundesliga. And I think another thing he learnt last night, was that when you're 2-0 up away from home, I think maybe in Germany, that's the killer blow and the team, the game just peters out. But not in the Premier League. It doesn't. 2-0. I don't know whether they say it in Europe, but it's a major cliche in the Premier League, or in England. 2-0 is the most dangerous score in football. And we found out last night why. It is. 2-0 so dangerous. Mark, if Rashford wants to finish so much by cutting in with defenders, why not use him as a striker? I don't think he's a striker, Sap. Mark, should we get Van der Sar to play in Donny's testimonial, 50 caps as cabs? Mark, I still feel sick, to be honest. I don't believe Tony refused to play. I don't believe he did. Daniel Kirk either. Cavani should have come off. Greenwood is a 9 and Sancho on the right. Donny should have come in for Fred and a fullback should have been changed. Look, Jack, we could have gone to a back 5 as well, but personally I just think put 4 in the midfield. We lost. Well, we didn't lose. We drew the game. I don't think we needed a back 5. The problem was runners from the midfield. We needed another body in the midfield. Coutinho took over that midfield. Honest question. So for me, yesterday we drew because of Rangnick. He was inexperienced in the last 20 minutes and he shouldn't put any blame on the players because, yes, Matic and Fred were crap in the last 20 minutes, but we needed fresh legs in there, and that's on the manager. And look, it's not Rangnick out. I thought that the first half was the best half of football I've seen United play this season away from home. That's a positive. The results are negative, but there was lots of positives. And as Rangnick said after the game, if he had the time again, he would have brought another midfielder on or another defender on, and we would have won the game. So, sometimes you've just got to take disappointment for what it is. It's disappointing. It's right to be disappointed because we should have won the game. But Rangnick's basically stood up and said it's his fault, and it is his fault. It doesn't mean we throw him under the bus, and we see what happens on Wednesday. But he's going to have, above all of that, I don't think Fred played particularly well either. I know he got an assist, but I don't think defensively he looked very good. We need a midfielder. Imagine if you chucked in a Fabinho into that team. We would have won that game, and we're not going to get Fabinho, but we need a holding midfielder. Honest question, if Rangnick did make the midfield change and we still drew, would be giving out as to why he changed and went defensive? No, Dara, no. I wouldn't. And we wouldn't have, you're talking about hypotheticals, and I can't argue with hypotheticals, Dara. I don't like them because you're basically saying if we'd drawn that game, people would have said, oh, he shouldn't have changed it. Well, those people would be idiots. Any manager should be looking to make changes on the 70th minute anyway, and at 2-0, the game is won. Don't play the same way you've been playing for 70 minutes to try and win a game. Change it. Gerrard just went for it. They threw it at us. They're the home team. We needed to be more compact in the midfield, and we played with the front 3, and Cavani was redundant. We were basically playing with 10 men. Hi, Mark. That just shows how useless the coaches are around him. Why can't Phelan and Fletcher say something? But you know what, JV, maybe they did say something. Maybe they did and he ignored it because he's the boss. So, I'm not going to get involved into that. The reality is Rangnick's the coach. He should have brought somebody on. He didn't, and we drew a game. But can I just say as well, I don't think I've said it on social media, but I will say it on here. I thought Ramsey, over both legs for Villa, he's a special player. He got a goal and an assist. He was man of the match for that. He was man of the match for me on Monday night, and he was man of the match again. What a player they've got in him. And, he started both those games. He never tired. I thought he was brilliant. Any transfer news, says AJ? Yes, we can talk about some transfer news now. So, look, Manchester United need to buy a midfielder. The club is a mess, an absolute mess. I'm so fed up of it. I've got no trust in it at the moment. I think everybody else feels the same. We are... you know, people talk about the Glazers, and I appreciate that if the Glazers weren't in charge and we had proper competent people at the top, they would rid the club of all the incompetence in the club. But there's so much incompetence in that football club, and I'm tired of people telling me that Murta and Fletcher are really good at their job. Their job is to recruit. Their job is to sell players. We've got a bunch of players that are unhappy, that are now causing toxic problems within the team. They're still here. Well, they're still here because our director of football's not doing his job very well. And we need a midfielder. And our director of football's not doing his job very well. People need to call out the problems. I think they see somebody's face and go, it's not his problem. He looks like he's got a nice face. Call out the incompetence. There is a massive amount of incompetence in that football club. Villa got a draw against us pure and simply because they brought a player in January. If Coutinho's not on the bench, we've won that game. We've won the game. So, you know, that's the headline I wanted to go with tonight, this morning. I don't want to be talking about a never should have happened embarrassing argument between Martial and Rangnick. What I wanted to say was, look at Villa. That's why we need to buy someone in January. We would have won that game. They've brought Coutinho in and they get a draw. January is essential to clubs who need things. And we need a midfielder. And we're going, let's just get by till the summer. I'm telling you now. I'm telling you. We've got Ricky on tonight, actually. I'm telling you now. If we don't get a midfielder, we don't get top 4. We have got 2 weeks to get one. Now, I still think we will get one, but it wouldn't be surprising to me if we didn't. Now, the latest transfer news is, and this is coming from the Mirror and the Express, is that Rangnick wants Hadara, who is on African nations AFCON duty at the moment. Which is fine, because we don't actually play again after West Ham next Saturday until February, and we play in the FA Cup against Middlesbrough. So you can buy somebody who's part of the AFCON at the moment. I personally don't think we're going to get Hadara because he's about 30 million quid, and I don't think we're going to get it. But Mark says, sorry to get you fired up, mate. Not my intention. Mate, I ain't bothered. You know, at the end of the day, it's all about opinion. That's what you get on the, you know, that's what you get with me. That's what you get with the content. It's nothing personal, mate. You know, in some ways it makes for good content. I think, look, I hope you have a good day. I think looking at the result, we can see the improvements at how he wants to play at times. Again, it comes down to being 1 or 2 players away, says Tomo. Seems like Ralph is trying to push Martial out by stating things publicly. We need to clear our wage bill. Ollie never did this. Ralph just naive. Yeah, Saineth. Agree, he should have changed it. Obviously doesn't trust anyone else in the mid outside Matic, McTominay and Fred. And I don't think he trusts anyone else. Hope for progress, says Dara. Despite the sad result, I am now very optimistic of United's future under Ralph. If Ronaldo replaced Cavani, we could have won the match, says Idrissa. Mark, how do you really think we are going to buy in the midfield? I'm going to talk about that now, United Empire. Mark, I felt something that clicked in that game, and I'll be very upset if he changes the team. I want to talk about that, Adam, as well. I completely agree with you. Please smash a like on the video. So, I still believe that the player that United can get is Zakaria. He is definitely a player that Ralph wants. I think he wants Zakaria more than Hadara. He's available for 5 million, but you've got to persuade him to come because he's out of contract in the summer. I think if we're going to do a deal, it's going to be after West Ham because we aren't playing on the last weekend of January because there is Europe. It's the weirdest. I cannot get my head around why we've got an international break at the end of January and March. I mean, there just seems to be more and more of these bloody international breaks. I don't know why we've got one in January, but it does give United no game time and opportunity to focus on getting people out and getting somebody in. So I think the last week will hopefully be quite busy. I think Zakaria is the man to go and get. We desperately need one. I agree with Trevor. Get a bloody CDM right now. We desperately need one, and I don't think. Well, I know Ragnick wants one. The whole world knows we need one. The only reason we're not going to get one if we don't get one is the board. And so we come back to the same problem again. The way the club's being run is at fault for everything. And that's true. You know, I said it weeks ago. The reality is that, you know, if you run a restaurant, you can blame the chef, but it's the restaurant owner who employs them. And ultimately, most of the things that go wrong at United are coming down to the board, who don't want to spend money in January. But if we don't spend money in January, we're going to be in the Europa League. So I remember saying this last year about a centre-back. If we don't get a midfielder, we won't get in the Champions League. If we don't get in the Champions League, it'll cost us about 50 million quid. It's quick maths. We don't want to buy a midfielder because we don't want to spend in January. If you don't spend in January, you're going to lose 50 million quid. Like, do the maths. 6 million for Zakaria or lose 50 million going into the Europa League. It's a 45 million net profit. Like, if you get top four, it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So look, I hope we're going to buy a midfielder. I really do. On the team itself from yesterday, I said it in my match reaction. I haven't changed my opinion. I want him to pick the same team again. I saw no problem with Lindelof and Varane. The high line I liked. I don't think you can do that with Maguire. And remember, if Tony's playing on Wednesday, he could give Maguire a right running over. So I hope we play with Maguire and Lindelof. I hope we keep the fullbacks the same. Look, you could probably bring... There's an argument to bring Luke Shaw in for Tellez, but even that's debatable. I think Dalot needs to stay at right back. I think Victor and Varane need to stay at centre back. Midfield, look, I don't like Matic. I think he gets tired after an hour, but he's the best CDM we've got, and it allowed us to play Bruno and Fred. Would you take Fred out to try McTominay? I don't think McTominay's tenacious enough, but he's not going to try Donny, so maybe he'll bring McTominay in. I don't agree with that. I think he'll bring Maguire in for Lindelof. I don't agree with that. He might bring Rashford in for Elanga. And those three changes for me will set us back. I think he's got to start the same team with Ronaldo up front. I think that's what he's got to do. But I don't think he will. And that's why I was so pissed off we didn't win. It was Rangnick's fault we didn't win, and it'll be Rangnick's fault if he changes the team. I really hope he has the courage to stick by the same team, and I hope Rangnick wakes up this morning and goes, wasn't the team's fault, it was my fault we didn't win that. I didn't make the changes I need to make, because really that team deserves to start again against Brentford. There's no case for Maguire to come in. Lindelof didn't do anything wrong. There's no case for Rashford coming in because Elanga did really, really well. You could argue you could bring McTominay in for Fred, but I'd still keep Fred because he's different. He's tenacious and he's more mobile, and you need that. But Ronaldo comes in for Cavani for me. Ramsey at Villa is very, very good. Very, very good. I thought it was fantastic. Just sell them. Who wants to leave? We will not get a positive thing from them. Yeah, look, I agree, Trip. I think all I'd say about the Martial thing, I think we've discussed it. I've said everything I need to say. I'm sure you think everything you need to think. But the minute that got said, I don't care whether it's about Rashford, Martial, Maguire. The minute that got said, I basically checked out of social media and watched the film because I knew I was going to see stuff that was going to disgust me. And I did this morning. I got sent clips. I saw stuff. People talking about plane crashes. People talking about, racial abuse. Take Pogba with you. It's just... That's so bad. It was so badly managed by Man United last night, because the minute you say any player didn't want to play for this club, it's going to make people angry. And unfortunately, there are people in this world that when they get angry, they bring out their inner... they bring out their inner selves. And some people will just go, get him out of the club, the prick. Some people will take it to levels that we saw, and that never needed to happen. And ultimately, if that never got said, Martial never would have got any abuse last night. So I just think it was badly managed by Manchester United. And it'll be interesting to see what they come out with now, because they can't just, again, it's another headache for Manchester United, because they'll wake up this morning and they'll be like, we've got to manage this. We've got a player who is going to be bloody fuming. Absolutely fuming. And we've got a manager who's probably angry as well. But it's not where the focus should be. Whoever wins out of Martial and Ragnick, and there will be no winner, we don't get 3 points for it. We should be talking this morning about... The headline this morning should be, we need a midfielder. That's what it should be. Villa bought a midfielder in and came back from 2-0 down. We need a midfielder to shut that game down. We need a CDM. Get a Zakaria, get a Hedera, get somebody in, right? We're talking about Martial versus Ragnick. Last week we were talking about dressing room unrest. We don't get any points for this. We don't. We need points. And, I've said my bit. Anyway, look, we are going to be, unless anything breaks this afternoon, we will be back at 8 o'clock tonight. Ragnick cannot say that if it's not true. It is true, says Robert. Well, look, Robert's just expressed an opinion there. I like Robert, but I think that's really irresponsible. I would put Robert with Rangnick there. That's really irresponsible, Robert, because you don't know. You don't know Ralph Rangnick. And this is the trouble with people. They like one side of the story, so they believe it. And I'm telling you now, I've learnt this in life. There's two sides to every story. You know, your best mate could have gone out last night, got into a fight with somebody you don't like. He'll tell you what happened and you'll believe it because he's your best mate. Doesn't mean it's true. The other person you don't like has a story. And he might be right. You're just being prejudiced, Robert, because that story suits you. And I'm telling you now, Ragnick might be right. Martial might be lying. But there might be a truth in between. And I just can't... I don't want to live in a world where people are taking a story because it suits their agenda. It's happened to me. I've had people talking about me being sacked from previous jobs for horrific things, which I never did. I got bloody promoted. But some people will believe it because they don't like me. So I'm going to call it out. I am going to call it out. You can't live in a world where people are taking somebody's side because they like that person and they don't like the other. It exposes you for being prejudiced, and we shouldn't live in a world like that. But unfortunately we do. And then when you live in a world like that, you get the idiots who come out with the racism, who wish death on him, who wish other things on him. And it's not right. That never should have been said, Robert. That never should have been said. Because it opened the doors for the vile people in this world to go at him. And that never should happen. We're Manchester United Football Club. We have standards. I turn on MUTV and I see adverts about equality and you know, stopping abuse. We've just opened the door to somebody get abused last night. We should never have done that. Even if he didn't want to play, we still shouldn't have said it. Because over the last 2 weeks, we've had players that are going to stay at this club say worse. But it wasn't told. It was all kept under the carpet. You can't pick and choose who you expose. And when you do expose them, you expose them to a world of hate, which I just think is wrong. Maybe Martial didn't want to play. Maybe he did. Maybe Rangnick's telling the truth. But the reality is, as a football club, we've got to be bigger than that. We're a worldwide institution that does a lot of good work for charity, a lot of good work about equality. And when that was said last night, I instantly knew we were going to go into this world where abuse was going to get chucked at an individual. And I tell you what, one day somebody's going to get abused and lied about on social media, and they're going to go and do something very serious. And then the world will really, really wake up. You can't do it. You can't do it, because this world we live in at the moment, people will take lies, they will take things, and they will destroy people, and it's not right. Ralph should have known that United isn't a local English club but a massive worldwide brand with fans all over the globe. Disappointing, says Edwin. Well, Man United need to come out and manage this. Manchester United need to come out and manage it very, very quickly, because if they don't, it's an embarrassing episode and it needs to be managed. And I don't know how you do, but ultimately, Martial, Ragnick, Manchester United need to have a chat and come out with some sort of statement that pleases everybody. And for me, that needs to happen. Look, heated show. We like that. It's all about opinion. I'm not going in on anybody personally. That's not my style. You know, it's a topic of opinion. But look, we all live in the real world. We know what it is. Some people are going to believe the story they want to believe because they don't like that player. And I just think, maybe move ahead of that and look at whether that should have even been said, and it shouldn't. It's naivety from Ragnick, but more importantly, he's learning and he needs help. We lost 2-3 points yesterday because he was naive, and then we've gone into an area we never needed to go into because he was naive. Like, you know, I don't blame Ragnick. I just think he needs to learn. Thanks everyone for watching. There's no watch along today because the London derby's been cancelled, which is a real shame. So I am going to be live on Twitch doing a bit of FIFA Draft, which is very interactive and good fun, and I'll be doing that from about 4 o'clock. But I might be live before then, because you never know with this club. God knows what's going to come out next. 8 o'clock tonight, we've got Ricky, Adam, and I think it's either Beth, Kev, or Levin. I don't know who else is on, but we've got Ricky on tonight. Be interested to see what he's got to say about Marshall. Speak to you all in a bit. Thanks everyone for watching. Fantastic opinions today. Take care of everybody, and I'll speak to you all in a bit.